Welcome back, nerds. Fino here with the guide for Summer Charlotte Corday. She's a 4-star caster in the upcoming Chaldea Summer Adventure, and she's on the same banner as Summer Anastasia and Okita Alter, so if you're in the market for any of those, you may run into her. So fingers crossed she's better than her assassin version. Charlotte's first skill is a 3-turn arts buff, an AoE confusion effect, which can proc into a skill seal, and a 1-turn, 1-hit party evade. While strong, this skill has conflicting incentives. You want to use your offensive buffs immediately, and given how her kit works, you'll also want that skill seal to proc soon. But obviously, the evade is meant to get you out of trouble and encourages you to hold it for a critical moment. Thankfully, the quintessential art support solves this conundrum, so you can just use this immediately and let Castoria deal with big NPs. There is a little bit of waste, since Charlotte is going to have Castoria's art/invuln combo on turn 1 anyway, but at the very least, the evade will keep some damage off your supports. Next up is a single target skill seal, stars per turn, and party NP damage. NP damage is one of those things that are really nice to have on an arts attacker, even at a modest magnitude, since it complements Castoria's arts and attack combo. Get those multiplicative buffs going. Also means that in situations where you have to use something that's not Black Rail, you don't bleed quite as much damage. Because it is a damage buff, you'll also want to use this immediately, meaning it's also your source of skill seal on turn 1. That's going to come into play later. Charlotte's third skill is quite simple. It's a 30% battery for her, and it's also a 30% battery for whoever you pick. In most situations, that would also be her. What this means is that Charlotte effectively has access to a 60% personal battery, and she has the option of spawning half of it to one of your allies at a critical moment. Like Castoria. Pretty convenient to get you out of trouble. Better yet, if you get Charlotte's charge append, that's 80% to start. Essentially, this skill gives you a lot of freedom to distribute your buffs and make your setups more consistent. Thumbs up. Now, what have we been saving up all these skill seals for? That would be Charlotte's Noble Phantasm. It's a single target arts attack that dumps out 20 stars. Its overcharge effect grants additional damage against skill-sealed targets. Keep in mind that Charlotte already has 2 baked into her kit, so against anything that's not immune, it's free damage. And while single target looping is a sketchy prospect unless you're someone like Squirturia or Melitene to a lesser degree, Charlotte makes a pretty decent attempt at it with a hit count of 5. Now on turns where you whiff all of her arts cards, she has 3 by the way, you can make up that shortfall with your surplus batteries. On turns where you do though, you may have noticed that Charlotte's been generating a decent number of stars. She has a passive that affects her arts and arts crit damage, but in general you aren't doing this because her crit damage is particularly impressive. Instead, you're doing it to fill up your meter. Now casters have pretty bad star absorption, but since you're generally running her with other casters, you can mitigate this with command codes. We'll be getting Gentle Wish during this year's Good or Close Call. Other absorption picks include the Inexperienced Fantasies Command Seal and Armament of Victory. For anyone curious, Charlotte's Bond CE leans into the skill seal bonus damage, giving it to your entire frontline at the cost of giving Charlotte equipment with the stats of a cardboard box. There are other attackers with skill seals in their kit, and in situations where you're fighting something Charlotte can't effectively damage, maybe you could get away with it. Personally, I'd just go with more generalist supports instead, but the option's there. But if you want to play it in reverse, you can get more skill sealers to keep Charlotte's bonus damage relevant. For the most rudimentary arrangement, consider regular Anastasia for a dual attacker frontline. Anastasia can sweep away trash mobs and apply skill seal to the big boss, while Charlotte cashes in. If you prefer a disposable option, you can run Matahari with a taunt CE, cast her defense down and skill seal combo before taking a dive. The Bukatsu has his taunt baked in, but he has confusion instead of a direct seal. If you'd like though, you could equip him with 500 Year Obsession to keep your target under control. Those of you rolling in the summer banners may headhunt Doman, and there is some synergy. He has confusion in his debuff package and grants attack and crit buffs to chaotic teammates, which Charlotte is. However, Charlotte isn't really a crit attacker and your results might be pretty modest on that front. Ryder Murasaki is a pretty strong esports servant, and her second skill is particularly interesting for Charlotte since it is a cocktail of debuff resist reduction, skill seal, and arts resistance reduction. She's also likely to go down to any assassins you're fighting, so there's little risk of her overstaying her welcome. The last and most bizarre option is our good friend, the single worst part of Septum. It's Malcolm McDowell himself, Caligula. His Noble Phantasm is a 3-turn AoE skill seal. Unless I'm mistaken, this is the only multi-turn skill seal in the game, and that's like a blank check for Charlotte. The catch is that you somehow need to have Caligula at full charge. If you use your batteries to make it happen, that's a waste of resources. But if you happen to have a spare super scope, you can use the Chaldea combat uniform to swap him in opportunistically. Very free-to-play friendly, I know. Charlotte is quite interesting. Decent single-target arts casters are pretty rare, with the single-target role usually dominated by buster servants like Xuanzang and Ilya. The arts alternatives are Shiba, who's alright, and Medea, who has a gimped NP multiplier so she's mostly a utility pick. So really the contest is between Charlotte and Shiba. The latter has a turn of Invuln Pierce, and she largely operates on the power of buffs. But against anything that you can skill seal, I take Charlotte over Shiba easily. And one big reason is that Charlotte's buffs combo better with Castoria. Remember that NP damage. Speaking of which, Chaldea Summer Adventure comes with a pretty strong freebie for art servants, Ocean Flyer. It grants a combo of arts, NP damage, and starting charge. Until you get a black rail of your own, it's a great starter pick for Charlotte. Now for all her neat tricks, Charlotte does have a pretty notable weakness. Casters in this game suffer from a pretty atrocious base damage multiplier that essentially amounts to a penalty. And it's not like Charlotte has particularly high attack to begin with. Especially with her face cards, you may find her damage questionable. Offensive caster woes, in other words. So you do have to worry about that and debuff resistance, but otherwise I think Summer Charlotte's pretty solid. If you happen to get a few copies, don't be afraid to level her up. You'll get more mileage than you'd expect. Thanks for watching. Like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more, and come watch me at twitch.tv/Finotaisen where I stream every weekend, 3 PM Pacific time, Friday through Sunday. Over on Fino and Friends, I was doing my daily rolls when I got a very special visitor. Link on screen. I'll see you there.